This is it, folks, the final zone of the game, Titanic Monarch. And of course, this is the Mississippi King welcoming y'all back to a more Let's Play Sonic Mania. In the last episode, we tackled Metallic Madness Zone, and I was not fond of it. So now we've reached a zone that I actually am pretty fond of. Okay, it's not my favorite zone in the game, but it's still pretty good. I enjoy it, even though the second act is a bit lengthy, kinda too long. But I do enjoy the level design and its verticality. So, of course, in this episode we're going to be tackling at least some of Titanic Monarch. I don't think we'll be able to tackle all of it because, like as I've said, Act 2 is pretty long, and that's not something I particularly care for. However, that said, I do find the music to be, well, fantastic, of course. It's really good, and I find the music to be pretty catchy. Also, it has some elements from the bonus stages of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, well, a specific bonus stage, and that's pretty neat, that, like, you can actually use the charged spheres they operate the same way as the ones in the bonus stages from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the ones that I'm talking about specifically. And also, it kind of reminds me of like that a black hole picture that has been surfacing around on the internet quite a bit. I realize I'm probably very late talking about that, but it's pretty cool that they managed to actually photograph a black hole. And why does Titanic Monarch make me think of a black hole? I really don't know. It just does, I guess. It just has that sort of spacey aesthetic to it. You know what I'm talking about. It's very technological. And actually, another thing that this zone reminds me of is actually Aquarium Park from Sonic Colors. Just because of the similar aesthetic to it, all of the blue, of course, and the whole way that it clashes with the red in the background and how it's very high-tech. Of course, like, there's no water here or anything like that, so it's a rather questionable comparison, but still. Yeah, that's one thing that I feel I should talk about. I really enjoy Sonic Colors. It's one of the good Sonic games that weirdly seems to be forgotten. It's like people keep seeming to say that, like, this was the only good Sonic game in, like, decades, and it's like, I don't agree. Wasn't everyone saying that Sonic Colors was good just a few years ago? I mean, several years ago, it's been ages, but still, isn't that the game that everyone was saying was like a return to form or something? It's like people seem to forget all of the good Sonic games and whatnot. I mean, I know that's rich and all, coming from the guy who keeps ragging on Shadow the Hedgehog, which is hot garbage, by the way. I don't think I've made that clear enough. It's quite terrible. You know, I feel that, like, my thoughts on Shadow the Hedgehog have been, you know, a little ambiguous. Like, people are probably wondering how I feel about it. And, well, to answer everyone's questions, it is hot garbage. I mean, I know. Quite shocking that I'd think that, of course. Okay, in all seriousness, like, of course, there are some Sonic games that are endlessly worthy of being made fun of. The Sonic Adventure, as I've said before, is like Dragon Ball Z in my eyes. I do genuinely enjoy it. It's just like, as I've said, I also genuinely enjoy making fun of it and whatnot. You know, I'm the same way with the Dragon Ball Z. It's just very easy to make fun of. So that was an embarrassing death. Seriously, I have been dying in every single episode since part 6. It's ridiculous. This game isn't that hard, I don't know. Normally I can get through it with, like, less death than this. But, not now, apparently. I find this to be a very easy game. And, you know, that's one thing that has recently flared up thanks to the release of Sekiro and Shadows Die Twice. Like, it seems to be something that people are talking about as, like, easy mode. I'm of the opinion that, like, difficulty doesn't necessarily make a game better. Like, I appreciate difficulty and all of that, but it's not like a major thing. Of course, a game like that, I would imagine you'd play for the difficulty, although an interesting story with that is that, from what I've played of the original Dark Souls, I actually find it to be kinda easy, actually. It's like, I really don't get what people are talking about. It's not something that I find particularly challenging. It's just weird that, like, people often say that they've died to, like, the first or second bosses, like, a lot of times, whereas, like, I've only died to the second boss once. That one time was just because I was unprepared, but the second time I figured it, you know, just use your sword two-handed. Just wield it with two hands, since, you know, you can't block it. So why bother having your shield up, and wielding it with two hands leads you to do more damage. I don't know, that's just a side tangent. Ignore me. As I was saying about Dragon Ball Z, it's like, there are things that I find to be hilarious. The continuity errors they're easy to make fun of. But, you know, I also enjoy these series, and I think a lot of people do unfairly judge it as being, well, shallow. Because it's like, they think that, oh, it's just a dumb action show or whatnot. And it's like, it's not a show about fighting, it's about people who love fighting. You know, like, the action is part of what makes it so good, so enjoyable. And not just in, like, the sense of, like, oh, that's entertaining to watch, but I mean, like, the people who say that, like, it's a dumb action show, like, I feel they're missing the point entirely. Like, the emotional moments in the series come about because it's an action show, because it has so much fighting and whatnot. The Cell Saga is best, I find, because it has some of the most emotionally charged fight scenes, and because, like, it's just so impactful. I just love the way that it handles Gohan's character development, and not to mention each of the heroes do get their time to shine in the spotlight. It really does make use of the cast very well, and that's why I enjoy the Cell Saga so much. Also, to bring it back to the game, you know, one thing that I forgot to mention was that while the Thunder Shield actually has an interesting use in this zone, you can actually use it to ride up the arcs of electricity. So you can use that to be carried upwards along the arc of the electricity. That's pretty cool. I like that they'd, like, make use of the Thunder Shield in that way. That's one thing that I do enjoy. It's pretty cool that, like, they still find uses for it this late in the game, and in a way that, like, actually affects the gameplay. So that's pretty neat. Also, the boss for Act 1 is called Crimson Eye, and Crimson Eye is actually based on Red Eye from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which was the mini-boss of the final zone in Sonic 3 and Knuckles' Death Egg Zone. I mean, it's the last regular zone. And of course, it's fitting since Titanic Monarch is the final proper zone in Sonic Mania as well, so that's pretty cool. And, you know, I enjoyed Death Egg Zone quite a bit. And it is pretty neat that, like, they called back to Death Egg Zone. It's actually one of my favorite zones from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, for that matter. And Act 2 actually has a very unique structure as far as Sonic levels go, because it's actually not entirely linear, because you actually get taken to a place where you have a choice between 4 paths, and you can actually do these paths in any order you like. You need to do all 4 of these paths, but you have the complete freedom to tackle them in any order. So if you want to, like, do the upper left path first, you can do that. So it's not just a straightforward get to the goal type of affair. That's one thing that definitely confused me the first time I played Act 2, and I'm mentioning this so that, like, that anyone else who like, hasn't played Sonic Mania, of course I'm not sure why you're watching this video right now if you haven't, but if you haven't, well then, be sure to keep that in mind, and it will make Act 2 quite a bit less confusing. Oh, and you want to know what else happened in this episode? 99 lives at last! So yep, we've already maxed out on lives. Yeah, this is a very easy game. Of course, like with 99 lives, it's very easy, I find, and just getting so many lives is ridiculously easy, which reminds me that thing I said about difficulty earlier, that's just about asking to be taken out of context, I just realized. Don't take me out of context, Internet! You know, I'm not saying I don't like difficulty, actually, in fact, I'm very fond of difficulty. Like, there are certain games that, like, I simply have to recommend that you play on, like, the hardest difficulty. Like, No, I don't know that any game needs an easy mode or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, so don't take me out of context. In fact, there are some games like The Last of Us, which I would strongly recommend people play on grounded mode. I think grounded mode is the best experience. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on difficulty. What just happened? Did I take a hit there? Rewind the footage. I don't recall anything being there. That's ridiculous. I'm turning every game I play into a glitch fest. Anyway, take a guess as to what the first comment on this video is. It will be pretty interesting. I'll bet someone will be taking me out of context. Wait, it says this video is age restricted. What the f-